Welcome to Alive and Sober with Reno C, where real life, recovery, and faith collide. Hey guys, welcome to Alive and Sober. We're glad you're here, where we talk about God and sobriety. Today my guest is a friend of mine, Brent, and what we're going to discuss is, just because you quit drinking, life doesn't stop. It keeps coming at you, right? And we run into struggles. And so we're just going to get into a little bit about that. Brent, before we get started, this Friday is celebrating 3 years of sobriety. So on behalf of me and everybody at home,
thank you.
3 years is a big deal. So just getting into, tell us a little bit about your story, like how you got, I know it, but for the people that are, I watched it. It was a train wreck.
I started drinking when I was in college, thought it would make me the cool guy, and I had this thing where I always had to go harder than everybody else. And out of college, kind of went back and forth. I didn't quite stay in the party culture as much, but starting to do stand-up comedy in 2011, drinking is a big...
Tell us about that.
Yeah, really, just a little bit of a huge part of the whole process. But if I've heard it said before, if you're an addict and you want to live that life, find something where you travel for work, because a lot of hotel rooms by yourself and no one's stopping you from doing whatever you want to do. And it just progressively got worse and worse and worse till the end of November 7th, 2022 is the day I quit. I was in the Bahamas on a gig and for 2 weeks. And I found out during that 2 weeks that I was getting divorced from my first wife, and I drank those whole 2 weeks. I mean, I was in the Bahamas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm riding water slides.
Right.
Hammered. I'm riding the lazy river.
Yeah. Taking out little kids, flying down, shooting off into the pool.
Yeah, I will say one of the worst parts about it is it was a huge, Paradise resort.
Island.
Yeah, Paradise
resort.
Island, the resort. And so, I mean, from one side to the other, if you're walking it can be 25, 30 minutes. And you pass these little stands from one side to the other. And you're like, well, I mean, I'm not going to not get a beer.
Right. You're here, I'm here. Yeah.
And I got a 20-minute walk back to...
Right.
But this will last me till the next one. And then you just kind of keep going. But leaving November 7th, the day I left, and flying back to the States, I was like, I'm done. I'm just done. Like, whatever this is ruining everything in my life, and I'm just done. And I stopped cold turkey. And that was 3 years ago this coming Friday.
Isn't it amazing? Like 3 years seems, to some people, it'd be like, well, 3 years isn't that big. But 3 years to an alcoholic is a long time.
I think especially when you hit a point in your alcoholism, in your disease, where you're like, I don't ever see this. This is just who I am.
Right.
Whatever this is, whatever I do, this is just a part of who I am, and it's never going to go away.
You accept it like it's your hair color or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was like, well, if you don't like me, no, I don't like the fact that you threw a bottle through my window. And it's like, well, I mean, you're talking about me. Like, that's just who I am. You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That type of attitude. Yeah.
You're just the one that, 10 o'clock at night and you're screaming at the bar because you just, this is the only way they can hear me.
Right.
It's like you realize there's 4 of us in here.
Right. It's very empty. But a lot of people, and people that travel for all kinds of business stuff, when you're alone that long, especially as an alcoholic, with your thoughts through the day in a hotel, there's only so much you can go out and eat and burn an hour or go to the gym or the solitude and being left with your thoughts. And then you're by yourself going to the airport. You're by yourself getting in your car, driving to your next place.
Yeah.
It looks like fun, and that hour that people see you do a show is like, oh man, what a great life. And it's like, dude, I am a trucker delivering jokes. You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember, somebody said that to me, and it was like, I'm just delivering an hour of material.
Yeah.
It's not, the show
so
is
funny.
great, but like, I think it was Tim Wilson, somebody said that to me, and that just stuck in my head. I was like, that's exactly what we are. Now, you did this differently than I did. Mm-hmm. You just stopped.
Yes.
Would you call the next period of your life white knuckling?
I read a book. I think it was called Stop Drinking Now by, I think his name is Dr. Alan Carr.
That dude that does a cigarette book?
Yeah.
Everybody swears that thing works. To my insurance company, I don't smoke. But I have heard other people that do.
Yeah, I mean, he does drinking, smoking, I think like eating, like sugar, that kind of thing. And at the time, I thought it worked for me because, you know, I think everybody's brain is wired differently in that what they respond to. So the things he laid out in the book, I was like, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and that makes sense. And I mean, it took me, I read it in like 5 days. I just got up and I that whole kick of when you're changing your life, I'm like, I'm gonna wake up every morning and I'm gonna read 20 pages.
Right.
And I'm gonna do that every day from that, and it lasted through that book.
Right.
But whatever, the way he laid it out, all that stuff, it completely resonated with me. And I was like, cool, I'm done. And then fast forward a month, and now I'm at the point where, every single thing in my life is better. So that's going to keep me going. And you say white knuckling, I didn't really, I will say yes, but I didn't understand what that meant.
Right.
Because you say white knuckling, and my thought was always, I can't go to the grocery store. I got to do a super roundabout to the beer aisle, because if I even get close to that, I'm just going to start shaking. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% know exactly. I was dodging that stuff. I'm like, why is the bread by the beer? Like, well, I need the bread. I need the cheese. And people are like, just cut in and out. And I'm like, I know it's there. Like, you can tell me I can go down any aisle I want, but I know what's over there.
Yeah.
And it was weird.
Because when I was drinking, that was the problem. I would go into a grocery store and I'm like, you know, towards the end, when you realize this is a problem, you're like, well, I mean, okay, I'm not going to do it tonight. Like, I'm going to hold off tonight. And then I would go into the grocery store and I'd walk down that aisle and be like, nah, no, we're good. Yeah.
Yes.
So flip that, you know, if you do the opposite of that, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can't. But that's not the case at all of what it was. I was fine.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Oh, yeah, I remember that. All right, see you later.
Right.
And it was fine, but white knuckling is so much more about the emotional and the it's not the physical, it's the emotional. It's the pieces of you that the drinking was compensating for. That's the white knuckling. And
right.
I did that for 2 years, not really understanding it, and white knuckling in the way of, okay, I'm taking away drinking, but now something has to fill that place.
Right.
What is that going to be? At the beginning, it was doing stand-up. It was my career. It's like, all right, I'm gonna throw whatever that was. I'm gonna throw it all into my career, and that sustained me until that didn't. And then it was, you know, trying to put another relationship in that place and putting way too much pressure on that relationship, and it was just breaking. It was just this constant cycle of just, I mean, kind of rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom before really learning and understanding what recovery is, and like how that's actually whatever way you find to do that, that's the thing that actually fixes.
So for those of you at home, Brent and I are good buddies and have known each other for a while. And then we started kind of going to some recovery meetings together.
Yeah, well, you took me to my first one, my
Right.
first real one. I went to one years ago, and I was like, nah, I'm not.
Yeah.
That stupid justification we all do. I'm like, I'm not this bad.
Well, in being honest with you, and people can call it brainwashing or whatever. If I'm brainwashed, good. I was brainwashed with stuff that. But I worried about you because when you decided to get sober, you did it on your own. And then I worried about the habits that you picked up that helped you stop drinking then, as opposed to going into a 12-step. Mm-hmm. And by the way, at home, people get sober from you can do it without 12. People have done it, and I've seen it happen in a bunch of different ways. But because of the way that I think, I was worried about you already not drinking for 2 years and then it being harder to buy into this stuff because you'd already done it on your own.
Oh, I see.
Right? So
okay.
I was concerned that you'd go in there and look at the stuff and go, yeah, okay, whatever. I already know how to do it. I already did it. Because I remember thinking like, I'd have like a couple days where I wouldn't drink, which is very seldom, but they were in there. But I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I got this.
Yeah.
If I can stop for 3, I can drink again. I know I can stop for 3 days. I'll just drink one night and then I'll stop for 3 days and drink one night. And then I was every night. You know what I mean? Like it never, and it took me going through steps to get there. So from my reference point and my thought process, I was concerned about you have already convinced yourself that you can do it on your own. And what was it like going from the 2 years of doing it on your own to what? Was I right about that, or was I wrong, or was it somewhere in between?
No, I think you're right in your worry for sure, because sobriety didn't fix the problem.
Right.
Not drinking didn't fix whatever
was making you want to drink.
Was making me want to drink.
Right.
And where it wasn't, in those 2 years, it wasn't, I didn't want alcohol. I still don't want alcohol. But whatever that piece of me that needed something was still there. So, yeah, I mean, I completely understand the concern of like, well, he's gonna feel like he doesn't need this. But going into a recovery room for the first time and being like, oh, this fixes more than drinking.
Right.
That's what I didn't know, and I think what I learned pretty quickly. Which, I mean, is the point. Is the point of it all.
Well, the point of those meetings is to find out. It's not just, I thought it was. Like when I was like, oh, if I stop drinking, all my problems are done. Because every problem seems rooted out of drinking. So if I take out the one common denominator that's doing this, then everything's good. And then it was like, somebody died, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I quit drinking. I know it sounds stupid, but it was like, wait, you get in trouble for something, and it's like, but I don't drink. Like I had that thought process of like, should I eat the whole cake? And it's like, look, I'm not drinking. Like I would do anything. And it was like I was using, well, I'm not drinking. I mean, why wouldn't I eat the 40-ounce porterhouse? You know what I mean? Like, why shouldn't I eat 2 racks of ribs? Like, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking,
Did you have the sugar cravings?
Oh my gosh, dude! I had candy falling out. I had. Here's how bad it was. Everyone's like, eat chocolate. So I'd eat chocolate. Then I get sick of it.
Yeah.
So then in my head, I was like, I'm gonna get like gobstoppers because you can't eat them as fast, and I won't take as much sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was sucking the outside candy off and chewing up the centers and like just mouthful of them. They were in my bed. My dog would come out with like, he's like, and he'd cough up a gobstopper. And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know where he found that. She's like, he found it under the sheets, because I'd lay there and she'd be asleep and you could hear the, dude, right here in this, we're in the basement of my church.
Right.
First Presbyterian. Upstairs, it's an old church. So all the floors are wooden. And there's a huge echo, and I kid you not, dude, and I'm gonna have the minister on an episode, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, my wife, I go to pull the candy out, and it goes, dun, 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 and you just see him rolling to the front, and Hinkle, our minister, is like, he looks over, and he can see it on my face, like, and I think he was trying to find what kid did it. And he's looking at me like, that's that idiot that steals the Diet Cokes out of the youth group. You know what I mean? Like, sugar was, I was a junkie. You know what I mean? It's like anything else, but the urge is the physical, because you take in so much sugar that you still have that craving, and that mentality of I quit drinking, so everything should. That's what I learned in 12-step. Like, it's not that I just stopped drinking. It's why do I want to eat the whole cake?
Yeah.
You know, what does that fill in me? And for me, I found God in the rooms of recovery more so than I did in the church I'm sitting in right now.
Yeah. Don't tell the pastor that.
Oh, he knows. No, he knows.
I'll say it to his face.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell him when he's on here. His whole episode is going to be about that. I don't need this. No, it's I do need it, but I had to learn about community also, which I learned in there. I had to learn that I needed a spiritual awakening, which happened to me, but not in a, one day I'm sitting there and the clouds part, and it was kind of more gradual. Right. Things did happen that I was like, there's no way this happened without God. Digging out things that you've done in the past is hard. Yeah. Because you're having to face your demons. Like I did that. Yeah. Where before that I'd be like, oh, I didn't do that, or that was their fault, or, it was a lot of blaming and, nothing was my fault and that kind of stuff. And that was another thing I worried about with you, was the thought that when I'm left, and it's only because of my own insecurity, like when I'm left to my own thoughts, I take myself places that I really don't need to be, So I fill that with 12-step, but mainly with God and things like that. Now, you had no understanding of God because you were a theology major in college. But all those things, and life keeps happening, right? Things, that facade of drinking's the only thing I have to get rid of and my life will be perfect is just not true. Right. And there's a lot of work that has to go into it. So what has changed for you as far as your outlook for the past year compared to the first 2 years? That I am infinitely more messed up and in need of recovery, of God, of all those things than I ever thought possible in the first 38 years of my life, 37, whatever it was. Yeah. I mean, you joke that I didn't know God because I was a theology major, but but there's some real truth to that. I mean, I grew up in church and I thought I kind of had an understanding of how it all worked and, what I needed to do and say when I was in middle school, you say the prayer and it's all that, and now we're good, right? Right. And then nothing changes. And I think it becomes more evident as you kind of grow up, at least for me, going through high school, college, it's all this stuff. Like, yeah, that was always there, but it was like, no, we're tucking that away. I have to deal with myself and I have to be this person, this idea of who I think people want me to be. And then you take the education on top of it. And all of a sudden, when you intellectualize God to that level, it deadens faith. It's like reading a different book. Yeah. It's the words, but the feeling's not there. I don't want to speak for you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't think, and I still struggle with this. Like even today, it's like, no. I want to understand. If I'm going to believe, if I'm going to have faith, I want to understand all the nuances. I want to be able to articulate it in a way that logically makes sense, and we can, and then, I can write a paper on it, or I can do all this stuff and I can make it make sense. And that's just not what it is. I think you have to have some understanding of generally who God is and the idea of who God is, but to say that you can think yourself into belief is, that's something that I completely struggle with. Right. All the time. And it really, for me at least, until you hit that rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom, you don't really understand
your need for God, for some kind of spiritual healing, because I think that's really what's broken.
Right, your spirit.
Your spirit is what. So I think in like the first couple steps of the 12-step program, and you're talking about a higher power, for me, that just opening that up is like, oh, okay, but this is also completely different from what I was raised to think and believe.
Right.
Because it isn't just God's on Sunday. This has to penetrate every part of your life in order for you to get better.
Yeah. And that's a daunting thought, because, and I think that's why we're never going to be perfect. It's just progress.
Right.
Right. You're never going to become Jesus.
Yeah.
It's obviously that's not possible, but if you can follow that instead of following somebody who's going to take you to hell, I don't mean that sounds so bad. Somebody who's going to take you to a bar,
right?
You know what I mean? Like if you're concentrating on love and peace and a light, you kind of become it. Like I remember someone saying to me, "You have to be selfish." When I first got into recovery,
right?
And I'm a people pleaser. Like I want people to like me. I want to leave a room and have people go, "Man, what a great guy." And when I was drinking all the time, I could fake that, man. Like I could walk in and convince you that I really had it together.
Yeah.
You know, now whether people believe that, I don't know, but in my mind they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But concentrating on God, and I'm learning more about the Bible now than I ever did. I didn't pay attention to it, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd listen to like a minister, or I'd watch something on, like I'd watch The Shack and be like, "Oh yeah, I get it." You know what I mean? That chick that made the pie in that other movie said that God, whatever. But I didn't dig in and really believe until I was at the bottom.
Yeah.
I didn't, because there was nowhere else for me to go.
Yes.
Right? And people used to say to me in 12-step, just let the process take its course. Take your time. You don't have to fly through everything.
Right.
You don't have to, if it looks like something simple, break it down. Because I'm just, bing, I'd look up on the wall and see those 12 steps and be like, unmanageable. Duh, I wouldn't be here, check. Believe there's a God. I watched The Shack, check. You know what I mean? Like it was, and I'm just trying to, I'm a C student. I'm like, just trying to get through them. Okay, tell people, make amends. Yeah, I already told them I was sorry 1,000 times. Every morning when I woke up, I'd walk around the house and be like, sorry, I didn't do anything to you. Well, I'm Will, sorry. You know what I mean?
Sorry ahead of time.
Yeah, I just tried to scoot through it, and I wouldn't dig in and actually, we're comics. Mm-hmm. We'll work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll do everything we can to not have to do this. Not have to go 9 to 5, and I don't do a 9 to 5. I do what I want. Well, you just drove 12 hours back from Omaha, Nebraska, for a corporate show for a bunch of cowboys. I mean, are you really? You just do what you want? Yeah. I run this show. That whole mentality.
I get to sleep till 10.
Yeah, I get to sleep till 10. And then I get home at 1 o'clock in the morning because I got caught in the traffic. And yeah, you know what I mean. But when life starts happening, as I've gotten closer to God, it's not that life stops or terrible things don't happen. It's that I feel like I have the tools.
Yes.
Right, to handle it. To not perfectly at all. I mean, I'll still jack stuff up, but to have something to rely on, and to have something that is precious to me, like that I really love. I love this adventure I'm on. I love this journey of learning about it and finding out about it and watching God work in other people's lives. And I discounted it for so long that it kind of changed me without me even knowing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I completely feel the same way. It's kind of this, I've heard people say like you have to get to the end of yourself before God shows up. It's like it's that complete, it's the 12 steps. Like this is unmanageable. I have to give it over. You have to reach the end of whoever you think you are before you can kind of step into that next. It's like true surrender. And it is it's the hardest thing for a human, I think, for a human being to do. It's you have to just give it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's, I want to fix everything. Like, I think I'm not only like a people pleaser in a way, but like I also, like, as soon as I mess something up, I'm like, no, I want to fix it. I want to, no, just let me figure out the right thing to say. Like, let me figure out the right thing to do, and I can put this back together.
Yeah.
And that's just not, it's something that requires more than what human ability is capable of. It's that next step of like,
surrender.
I can't do it. Yeah. I think in one thing a verse I've kind of latched onto recently, I'm terrible at, it's in Exodus. I think 14, I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I think it's 14.
Exodus 14 at the end. It just says, be still, God is fighting for you. And that's probably not even the right.
No, but even if you're paraphrasing, it makes sense, because that patience of waiting for God to do his thing is weird. I'm really impatient.
Impatient.
Everything.
I think that's just the nature of, I say who we, like comics. It's like, no, and because everything is always the next thing.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, I got this. This is going to be the thing. Okay. Oh, that wasn't it. Let me find the next thing.
Yeah.
And then this is going to be the thing. And it's just this, and we're so impatient.
Dude, my wife will talk about my booking, and she's like, you're going Florida to Nebraska to South Carolina to Oregon in 4 weeks. What are you doing? I'm like, they called and I had the thing and I needed the money. What do you think this house just makes itself? That type of thing. I'm sober, and I'm still like, what am I don't need to be like that. If I'm really letting God guide me, why am I so frantically, I accept gigs I should have never taken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you end up there and it's like, this is terrible. I'm not even a comedian anymore. Everybody's getting their dinner and it's like corporate gig. And even if they pay you a bunch of money, you're still like, this is not what I foresaw. You know what I mean? This is not the plan that I had. And a lot of that's age and all that stuff. But when things happen now, right, that are, we'll just say disagreeable, or that throw your life off kilter, or things like that, you can still find yourself in a mess.
Yes.
Right? Sober, drunk, whatever. It's like, why did this still happen? Yeah. That's another thing about God, where it's like, and I remember on 9/11, a family member of mine was like, God was asleep today. And at that time in my life, I was like, yeah, why didn't he stop that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm learning about the Bible, it's because we're human beings. We have free will. We don't have to follow him if we don't want to.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. You can talk to that rock and marry it anymore. It doesn't even matter, right? But now I look at it and go, God wasn't asleep. Those people were asleep. Those people that thought, that this was a good idea and that evil was better. God doesn't force you to, I could go get drunk. We could get up from here and go to a bar right now. No, God's not stopping me. I can do whatever I want. But the repercussions of that are, I can see them now.
Yes.
I can see, like, wait a minute, remember the people you hurt? Do you remember what you said to that person, what you did here, what you did there? That's a bad move for you, right? And relying on things I've learned about Jesus help me to make better decisions. Are you finding that?
Yeah, I think lately I've been finding this sense of accountability. And I was reading this book. It's called The Way of the Pilgrim. And there was this quote I loved in it because, and I don't know if I'm applying it exactly the right way as I should in my life, but the quote was, when you're talking about faith in God, if you act out of fear of punishment, you're acting as a slave. If you act out of want of reward, you're acting as a mercenary. You have to come to God as a son, as like a family member. And so,
dude, since you quit drinking, you've gotten really smart.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's actually shocking to me. No, I'm just kidding. Stop saying you read. I don't read.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That makes a lot of sense, though, man.
But I look at it as the sense of accountability, and it's different. I look at it differently because it's not, like, okay, I don't want to do this bad thing. I don't want to sin because I'm scared of hell, or because if I sin too much, I'm not going to get to heaven. It's like, oh no, I have this, trying to have and establish this relationship with God that is more paternal. It's, they say God the Father.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, I want to be accountable to that. And I want to hold accountability for my own life to where I'm not going to act in ways. It's almost like that thing of like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could get to the pearly gates. He's like, look, I'm not mad, but I am
very disappointed
with a lot.
That's worse, isn't it? You can't even argue with that. Like, that's hard to turn around on somebody.
But I think I kind of look at it, and not drinking anymore definitely falls under that, because like you said, we have free will. I mean, God is not sitting up there in heaven trying to be vengeful, towards if you mess up or you make a mistake. But it's like, yeah, if I take this turn, if I get drunk again, if I go back to those old ways, and I turn back to the old man instead of the new man that I would like to be, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm falling short on my end. And having that accountability helps me stay focused.
I like that a lot, man. The paternal kind of, and I like learning too, like Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Mm-hmm. Where he's like, I think that's where he said, I'm not here to condemn you, but he was talking about, like, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not here to change the rules. He kind of was like a 12-step. He kind of took it to like, well, it's not just adultery. It's that your heart's filled with this stuff, and that to me feels like the 12, it's not, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's not, I knew what was right and wrong. I just didn't know why I was doing the wrong. And it's like, you're looking at this stuff, you're thinking about this stuff, you're doing this stuff all the time. That causes this. Like, still don't do this, but there's a lot of stuff underneath here too, man, that's leading you to that. So if you can get rid of this, you'll be living by this. Right. But it will clean you out in a deeper way. It's not like a law. Like the Old Testament to me, it seems more like, 55 miles an hour and that's it, And Jesus is like,
those chariots. Yeah,
Jesus is like, hey man, how about you don't race cars on Saturday at the track, because you're going to take it to the road. Yeah. You know what? That's a stupid analogy, but you know what I'm talking about.
You lost me on that.
I also teach Bible classes. If you like, you know what I mean? He's like, don't race cars, sell T-shirts or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what but does that make any sense? Like, like I like, my favorite part about Jesus is everybody he talked to and used in his mission were messed up, like me.
I was listening to that this morning.
And it makes me feel so comfortable, like, the woman at the well. Uh-huh. I had that broken down for me. Like, I knew the story, I heard it and read it in a cartoon book as a kid or whatever. But I never thought about the fact that, like, he was like, you've been married 5 times. And I remember being like, ooh, yeah, she's in trouble. I didn't know that back in those days, women couldn't divorce their husband. She'd been left 5 times. Yeah. And she was ostracized, and she was the one, she was getting water by herself in the middle of the afternoon, like the hottest part of the day. Nobody went and did it by themselves. She was there out of desperation, and he picked her to be the first person to go back and tell the town that the Messiah was there. Right. Like, I was like, wait, what? She's living with that dude. You said there was another guy, and you said the man you're living with now isn't your husband. Why would you pick, you know what I mean? Like, ooh, dirtbag, And Jesus doesn't look at us like that. And that gets into the paternal thing you were talking about, approaching it like that. Like, he knows we're messed up. He lived on this world. He saw how screwed up, he lived it. And it's so cool to me that, you know, when people have this feeling of I'm worthless, not to him you're not.
Right.
You know, well, my whole life people told me I was worthless. Not to him you're not.
And even, I'll even take it a step further and say, this is a weird sidebar, but in church tradition, the woman at the well, her name was Fotini. And not only, like you said, was she the first missionary? Because it's like she ran back to the village, so she's the first person.
Right.
But taking all that stuff, and she ended up having a family that were also really good at spreading the gospel. So it's not just like, well, let me take this messed up person and like kind of flip one thing. It's like, let me take this and through that, even more than what you could possibly expect.
It's crazy, right?
It's insane.
And it elevated her when she got back to the village as the first person, and people didn't look at her the same way.
Right.
Right? They were like, oh my gosh, like the Messiah picked her?
Yeah.
You know, and you know they were sitting around like, are you kidding? Like, did you tell him what you did? He knew what I did. He told me what I did.
He told me what I did.
He knows everything about it. It's really weird. Don't go to the well, man. You know, have somebody else get your water, because if something happens
There's a guy up there.
Yeah. And
he knows
will
some
change
stuff.
your life. Can you imagine being at the well? Yeah. No, I heard what you said in Chattanooga on stage in front of all those people, and you said it 15 more times. But it's cool. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I probably shouldn't be making fun of that, but it's just interesting to think about it, that all of us that feel so down and so low, and it sucks that we have to get so low to find him. But I think some of us can only find him that way.
To have a real, honest relationship and to really figure out who you are and what you're meant, whatever the plan is, I think most people have to hit that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, what are you really looking for? I mean, if it's, you know, and not throwing shade or anything, like if you live a life where it's just, I've got this relationship with God and we're good and I do what I'm supposed to do and it's fine. It's like, okay.
Do you feel like you have to be active to keep that relationship going?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
I mean, you joke about Bible college and theology education. I've forgotten infinitely more than I remember of all. I mean, 6 years, 5, 6 years of it.
Yeah.
I know like little, like I remember like little bits and pieces, but absolutely, like if you don't keep up with it, it falls away.
Do you know how many people, and I don't care about math, but as far as talking to people in this podcast have told me they grew up in church,
oh yeah,
myself included.
Yeah.
It's really an odd deal. And I was thinking about this the other day that, you know, I used to get so mad at my dad. Like, I remember my mom saying to me, like before we'd go into church, she'd look at me and she goes, I'm going to tell you something. When they talk in there, you listen to what he says. And when they sing the songs, you sing the songs. And if you mess around, I will freaking kill you. And I remember being like, okay, you know, and going in there and be like, I don't think she's getting this either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was forcing me to go. Now, even though I talk about having a child's view of what God was and a cartoon book and all this stuff, it did instill something for me to come back to. And I can't tell if it's a weird thing, like, is it because we went to church? But I don't think it is. I think it's that we had seeds planted in us where when everything goes in the toilet,
yeah,
we can accept the fact that, hey, this might be right. A lot of people didn't have that. And when they find themselves in trouble, they don't know, they have nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. You know, I talked to my uncle. Well, your uncle is just, you know, that dude's a problem
at
too.
The prison?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you go to people, and I've said this ad nauseum, but my mom told me, she goes, I love you more than anybody on the planet ever will, but I'm gonna let you down.
Yeah.
And that's why you need God. There's not another person that you can go to on this earth who has your intentions that are stronger to be good than mine. And I'm still going to jack it up.
Yeah.
Right? And for people that, you know, and I can only speak on this from my own experience. I don't know how other people do this or whatever. But as life, you know, people died since I've been sober. People, I've lost gigs or shows or things that are very disappointing. But the fact that I don't go get hammered over it allows me to handle in a way where it doesn't linger forever. You know what I mean? Like,
the pain,
the pain isn't
yes.
just sitting in there. And I'm just shoving it down with liquor and ham or however I'm...
Ham?
Oh, I used to eat. Yeah, dude, I was 260. Ham? Oh my gosh. Shot of Jack and a bite of ham? Are you kidding me? That's the holidays, baby. Walk through the kitchen, there's ham, and nobody knows that bottle of Jack. They're pouring like Jack and Cokes or whatever, and I'm like, well, you're here and I'm here. I'll eat a piece of ham. No one can smell. I'm just eating ham. I know it's stupid. But
I don't just because it's ham. I don't know what.
Oh, because ham, Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia ham. Pat House was the name of the place.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was delicious. but it doesn't linger in me anymore. I don't hold that in and shove it down and not talk about it because I'm worried about my ego.
Right.
Or I'm worried about, you know, what's somebody going to think about me? If they find out that I almost had the show and I lost it, if I talk about it, well, they're gonna be like, what a loser. Of course you did, especially with comics, you know? Oh, you lost your show? Hey, are they still booking it? Are they still looking for somebody? Because I'll shoot my stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, would mash everything down, but then it would come out. It was like a explosion on something that had nothing to do with it, or somebody that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that was, when I was talking about I was worried about you, is if you get used to cramming that stuff down, that's a mechanism you use.
Even if your idea is something bad happens and you get hammered to deal with it, or like, I don't like how I'm feeling right now, I'm gonna get drunk. It's that stays in there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't feel as bad as long sober, but it's also out of me in its own way. Where, I mean, so much of the 12 steps is when you dig into all that stuff. And I mean, even lately, I mean, in the last like couple weeks, I'll have another thought, and it's I have to tell myself, this is a memory, not a new mistake.
Dude,
and
I love that.
That it's still so easy for me to have one of those memories, to one of those things I still need to work on, and it feels like it's happening today. And it's
Say that again. Say again the phrase you said. It's a memory.
It's a memory, not a new mistake.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of phrases in the one day at a time.
Well, yeah.
Keep on trucking.
Don't give up before the miracle.
Yeah. Call Morgan and Morgan. No, I don't know. There's a bunch of bumper stickers. Yeah. So are you finding that as you get closer to God and you're digging that stuff out, that it's helping you kind of guide your ship? Is it as opposed? I'm just trying to mentally figure out, like, as you approach things now, because dude, you are, I mean, I love you, man, and I've known you for a while, and watching you now is a lot different than the dude I knew. As comics, we run into each other on the road, or we come over to the house and hang out, you know what I mean? But it's real intermittent.
Yes.
You know, and it's real easy for us to put on a face of everything's fine. But the last time you were at my house and you were still drinking, you were hurting.
Yeah.
And I think you were hungover, and then
oh my gosh,
it was kind of
that was
I mean, that's been not the last time you were at my house, but
I was
the
gonna say, I was like, wait, hang on.
The first time.
Yeah. Well, the first time it wasn't just at a show.
And I knew you were hurting. Yeah. And I knew, you know, I still, this is so bad, but I still count people's drinks. You know, I don't know why. It's like, it's the opposite of what I'm supposed to do. But someone will be drinking. I'm like, oh, there's 4. You know, in my head, I'm like, I'll probably be seeing him down the road in a couple days. You know, it's so judgmental and exactly what I'm not supposed to do. But you were hurting, and seeing you now, coming up on 3 years sober, and trying to tackle the internal stuff that we all try to avoid. And it doesn't matter. You can start off in recovery. I did, go into recovery meetings and stuff like that. But you can still dodge and weave and accept only parts that fit my vision of how I'm going to guide my world. And I've noticed a huge difference in you, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, and I know we're not going to get into it, but I know life has been tough.
Yeah.
And you're going through something now that's really difficult. But as your friend, it makes me so happy to know that you're relying on God, you're relying on your friends, you're doing the work. And it's hard sometimes to see out past the trouble we're in, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like it's like you're in a storm, but eventually the storm moves out.
Right.
And then where are you then? And if I find in my own life, which is all I can talk about, is that I only learn from real dark struggle. I won't pay attention unless I get smacked around a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I 100% believe I've learned more in the last 3 months than I did in the last 3 years.
That's awesome, dude.
It's insane. And it's scary because there's a level to it where I hope it's real. You know,
dude, I've had that feeling too. Like, am I crazy?
It's so much scarier because you're talking about guiding the ship. It's like I'm not guiding the ship. It's hands off. There's so many things.
But sometimes you want to grab that wheel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that's the surrender. That's the trust of like, okay, if I'm gonna say I believe this and I'm gonna continue to practice my faith and I'm going to act in this way, you got to take it to the end of the night. And that's taking your hands off the steering wheel.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason for me to still be in Middle Tennessee. You know, but I think if I didn't kind of let go, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be having this.
Right.
Like, there's so many things that it's like, that it's terrifying, but it keeps working out.
Yeah. And you have to ride it out a little bit.
You got to ride it out a little bit.
And God's timing is never our timing.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
That hits so much harder. Someone said that to me after church last night.
It's hard.
And I was like, you have no idea how much that hits my life right now.
Yep.
And it's, yeah.
Yep.
It's its own thing.
Dude, I love it. And this Friday, we are going to celebrate 3 years at a recovery, and I'll eat half the cake in the parking lot before we come in. Chocolate, please. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today with my buddy Brent. And if you're struggling out there, just know that there are people out there just like you. You're not alone. He's real jacked up. But I just want you to know we're trying to build a community and trying to give people a place that during the day, you know, sometimes you just need to hear, or I do, from another alcoholic or addict or broken person. As you can see, me and him are both broken. And I mean, he's real broken, but I'm kind of broken. But if you were
listening, let me get out from under the bus real quick. You're throwing me under here.
But if you are struggling, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And we're all in this together. And if you have to reach out to someone, reach out to somebody. But God's there for you. You know that voice you have inside you, talking to you, guiding you, and that's God. And on top of that, as I say at the end of every episode, if no one told you they love you today, I do. Have a great week, everybody.